What's going on? Good evening, everyone, and welcome into the Fighting Taters show. My name is Lucas Gephardt. He is Ryan Luke. Ryan, it's got your baseball hat on. It's been a minute since we've done a show, but we got a new state champion that we wanted to talk about, Middleton Baseball, as we roll out of this Memorial Day weekend and into baseball season. School's just getting out. Vacations are starting. You and I have been busier than heck right now, but wait a minute. How you been?
Man, Ben, we're in the thick of it, as they say, and absolutely, school getting out, kids, travel, tournaments. We had the state baseball tournament. We have a lot of stuff going on, and to be honest with you, it's a wonderful time of year if you're a baseball fan, and you're just getting into the thick of it. And high school baseball season ended a couple weekends. Let's see, 2 weekends ago. So I've been doing well. How are you? What's going on? Well, actually, you know what? That's not fair. You and I broadcasted together. We did do some of the state tournament, so I kind of know how.
Yeah, I mean, for a day, it's May's been crazy. I've been on the road so much with my day job. I had a bachelor party the weekend of state baseball for one of my real good college friends that I went with that I felt like I couldn't miss. So I did one day of state baseball, and see, wherever I've been to Rapid City, I've been to Tulsa, I've been to Denver, I've been to Portland, all in the month of May. So it's been all over the place, but all good though, and it's been a good month of baseball in the state of not just Boise, but just the state of Idaho. NNU is going to try to play for a Division II championship, so they won their regional and their super regional last weekend. Obviously, NAIA World Series will be taking place up in Lewiston like it does basically every year. So it's a fun time of year for sports in Idaho. And as we get out of the high school baseball season, really kind of the start of the baseball season, really, as you kind of look at it, a lot of the kids, the travel ball teams, and we're starting to get into travel ball season now. I know your kid plays travel ball as well. So, tournament time for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And our guest tonight, it's funny, we played him. He said he has a son the same age. We'll chat about that for a little bit. But so we run into each other all the time. It actually works out really well, quite frankly. Once you start, once you start on this travel ball and down the baseball path, I would say in Idaho, it's a small community. Everybody kind of knows everybody, and then it works its way through. But I think that's something we'll be able to talk about is how do you develop, how do you grow these kids, and so anyway, without further ado.
Yeah, let's go ahead and bring in our guest on today's show. But before we do that, I want to remind everyone that we are the Fighting Taters show, and you can listen to any one of our previous shows and this current show on the IdahoSports.com YouTube page, Facebook page, and X account. You can also listen to this show on IdahoSports.com or anywhere you download and subscribe to your podcast. Don't forget to leave a comment, like the show, share it. That's how we're able to grow and get this out to more of our wonderful viewers. So let's go ahead and bring in today's guest. It is Bryan Swygart, the head baseball coach for the 6A state champions, the Middleton Vikings. They have 5A enrollment numbers. They decide to play up to 6A, and they're going to walk out with a nice big old ring to show for it. So, Bryan, thanks for joining us today. Congratulations on your state championship.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys bringing me on. It's been a wonderful, wonderful ride.
Yeah, you're the first ever 6A state champion in the state of Idaho, and not to be confused with being a 5A champion. Was Middleton ever a 5A? I think they won 4A, skipped 5, and just went right to 6, right? If I'm not mistaken, 2018.
We were in the 5As the last couple of years, duking it out with Hawaii for those district championships the last couple of years. Just didn't quite make it happen. So I took over 4 years ago. The first year was 4A, the next 2 were 5A, and then this year is 6A.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is 2018 was the last championship prior to this one, correct?
Yes.
And that was in 4A. So, I mean, no 5As, but hey, we'll take a 6A, right? I mean, better than the alternative.
Absolutely. We'll take it.
Yeah.
Talk about what went into the decision for you guys to play up a level, play up to 6A. Obviously, you guys were up to the challenge, but at what point did you decide you wanted to play up? You previously weren't allowed to play up, right? But you guys have this opportunity to play up. You it. At what point was that decision made, and what went into that?
First of all, I love that Idaho gave us that opportunity, and with the new rules and making decisions what's best for your school and not even your school, what's best for your sport. I believe that Middleton football and Middleton baseball were the only two sports in the entire state to appeal up into the 6A. And I think there were others at the lower levels, but as far as 6A, a couple of things that I talked about. We got a Hall of Fame coach with Coach Brock here in our football program. You want to play high caliber teams week in and week out. And the 6A SIC is just a murderer's row of baseball. You get a really fantastic game every night. And I knew that our kids could compete at that level. I wasn't necessarily doing it for a state championship. I knew we would be able to compete for one. If we were just going for state championships, we would have probably just stayed down in the 5A and did our best there. And I mean, we played some of the 5A teams, and they're loaded too. And there's no easy victory anywhere. But we just wanted great baseball day in and day out, and you get that for sure in the 6A SIC.
Well, and to kind of piggyback on that, I think it's interesting, and I texted you before, hey, let's talk about some of these subjects, but I look at Middleton baseball and building the pipeline of the program and what it takes and what goes into that. And just to kind of as an example, I think you guys had like 50, 60 kids show up for freshman baseball. I mean, it could even been more, versus you see the B, actually this side, the B, that's for Boise High. So my son, 7th grader, played on the freshman baseball team. They had 25 kids total show up, and that's between 3 grades, right? Now, so they did have some freshmen playing up, but they had 25 kids. I mean, it's just the difference of building a pipeline. And how have you been able to do that? I mean, the interest in baseball in Middleton, well, sports in general, but baseball is just phenomenal.
There's a lot of factors that go into it. We are really connected with our youth organization. The president of that league and I are really close friends. We talk a lot. We talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. We talk about how to get kids involved. The thing that I like about him the most is he's trying to get the most kids playing for as long as they possibly can. We encourage kids to come out and try out without, putting them too much pressure on them. So, in fact, of our tryouts, we had 91 total kids try out. That's from 8th grade all the way up to our seniors. 91 kids. I talked to Rocky, I talked to Mountain View, and I talked to Owyhee, and their numbers were in the 75, 76 range. And so we have strong encouragement. We try to take it as easy as we can on kids when we do cut them. I think we cut 45 and kept 46. So about half and half. And we try to be as gentle as we possibly can, while also having the president there to pick up the kids that do get cut so that they have a place to play. That he talks to them immediately after they're getting cut. We've established such a close relationship with our youth organization that kids that cut, we kind of restructure it. We say it different. You're not cut. You're going to get a different opportunity to play here. And it's still in the Middleton organization, still with Middleton baseball. It's just at this level. And you can rebrand things however you want. But one of the things that really has inspired me and excited me about that is we set it up prior to that, that we're not cutting you because we don't like you. We really do. And if you need anything, you can still come to us. I had 3 kids come to me in the hallway throughout the freshman season, and they didn't make our high school team. And they would come and talk to me, and they would tell me about their season, and we would have those conversations with the kids that didn't make it as well as the kids that did, and continue to support them and try to make it to some of their games, and try to get some of our kids to go and support them. And so there's a lot to it, but that seems to be one of the things that's working the most.
Oh, that's great. I love it. I love the support system with it, and the ability to do it. Middleton's a great sports town. I target, when we broadcast game, Lucas, you and I have done how many games, football games in Middleton?
We do at least 3 or 4 a year.
Yeah, Andy's awesome, right? Like, he's great to us on Idaho Sports and letting us broadcast. But I would argue that Middleton as a town, right, and as a school, I always say there's 1A and 1B, and you can flip-flop them for the best high school football experience in the state of Idaho, that's either Mountain View or Middleton. And it just depends on the week because both bring it and the fans show up, the Viking clap, everything. But here's the crazy thing. I see it in basketball. I saw it in baseball. Like I did the super region. It was packed. I mean, it was standing room only for super region baseball in the middle of the day. Like there were kids in school coming out to watch the thing. The town shows up for for sports in Middleton.
I have to hand it to our administration. Johnny Hollinger is our new principal. He came in a couple of years ago. Annie Ankeny, you said, does a great job in making people feel at home and welcome, and we want those type of things. They do a great job of creating an environment, creating a culture, and they build around that culture with the right people. And if they don't have the right people, they'll find the right people. But one of the things I really like is they want students to be engaged, and that could be anything from clubs to music to sports to going to the games and being a person that just absolutely supports all sports. And I have to give it to Johnny. He just does a fabulous job of promoting sports within the town.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a third shout out. One of my favorite places to go is Homedale, Idaho.
Homedale.
My buddy Matt Holtree, him and I graduated high school together. We talk a lot, and he does the same thing. And Johnny and I have talked a lot about Matt and how he builds that town. And I take a lot from Homedale High School and from the way Matt kind of builds that community. And if you knew that community prior to Matt, it was not the same thing. And so that Holtree, and I talk a lot. I just love the way they do sports. Their baseball, if you've been out to their stadium,
their field,
it's remarkable. And just retired. You got to give a huge shout out. That's your next sports guest right there. That guy did a heck of a job out there at Homedale.
Yeah.
Hey, you send us the contact info. We'll get him on next week. How's that?
I will. I'll do it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the field's phenomenal. I mean, you remember, was it 2 years ago when we had the crazy spring and it was so wet they couldn't play anywhere but Homedale because it drains the turf field? They played like games at 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock. They just rolled them through, and they were so good to everybody. It was really cool to see that.
That's a sports town. That's a small town sports town. You got to go check that out. And they just put turf on their football field last year or the year before. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a pretty incredible facility for sure. So, hey, Bryan, I want to put up the 6A baseball bracket. This was your guys' journey to the championship here. So, as I said in the open, I only saw you guys play once, unfortunately, and then I had to bail out to this bachelor party. So, but so talk about this journey here. You guys go through Coeur d'Alene, Mountain View, and then Hawaii, a team that you guys are pretty familiar with, to win the state championship game. What was this weekend like for you and your guys?
The word special just keeps coming to mind. Having to go through Coeur d'Alene, Mountain View, and Hawaii, everyone in the tournament. We went 5-0 in the 5 state games, and they were competitive as all heck. And I give credit to all of those teams. Like, we walked into that tournament and we said, there's not a team here that's a slouch. That Coeur d'Alene, Mountain View, Hawaii, or Middleton can win it. Whoever gets hot gets a little bit of luck. They're going to have that shot to win that tournament. And it just came out that we played well, and we capitalized on key opportunities and went through it. But we went through a lot to get here, a lot. I mean, it's hard. It is hard on coaches. It's hard on players. It's hard on parents, administrators. The world of sports is different these days, and you guys may pick up a little bit of what I'm talking about, but it is just an absolute journey. And so it's a sense of relief. It's a special event. The kids that you're with, they just stand out, and they have an opportunity to win, and they go and take it. It just felt like it was our time. And we kind of started to feel that way about halfway through the season, that we had a real legitimate shot to win a tournament. The guys before that, the Rob Orlowskis, the Trey Swygarts, the kids that carried our group over the last 4 years really established that. And those guys called me. I had the Reklas and the kids like that calling me. And I told everyone the same story. Like, we don't get here without you guys establishing a winning culture at Middleton High School. And it really came through. The leadership this year was molded off of in the past with the guys on our team, the Robert Orlowskis, the Trey Swygarts. They were not only our best players, but they were our hardest workers, and that carried over into this season as well. And, you get guys like Ian Lenius and Boomer Collins and Drew Holman, and you marvel at you're the big fish in the little pond, and they could take it down a notch if they wanted to, but they refused it. And I got to give those guys a ton of credit. And we got such an awesome town and a great group of people to be around. And I mean, I go down the list, guys like Cam Lenius and Jeremiah Keithley, and we had move-ins that came in that just fit in our system, and they just made each other better. This team gelled as well as any team I've ever had, if not better. The leadership was outstanding, and I really put a lot more on the kids this year. It was their team. It was absolutely their team, and great teams that are player led tend to do a lot better.
So you mentioned Orlowski, your son Trey, a couple other players that kind of built the foundation, and I really credit that. I thought last year was a great year, a chance for you guys to do it as well. Eagle had a really good team last year as well, and just one loss out of the gate. But that's why I love the new format. It gave teams opportunity to play, and I feel like you guys didn't have to play twice. You didn't lose once and have to come back through a loser's bracket, but you guys took care of business and you won. So you truly won. I mean, every team there lost with the exception you guys lost 2 games. So, but I do want to go back. Let's talk about this tournament. So Coeur d'Alene game, you guys jump out first inning, you score 4 runs, right? I thought you were going to run away with it. Robertson, the big pitcher from Coeur d'Alene, not necessarily a power pitcher. And then all of a sudden he settled in, and Coeur d'Alene, those teams from up north, Lucas and I talk about it all the time. It doesn't matter if it's Lake City. They are so fundamentally sound in everything they do, and they ground back and they came back, and you guys were able to put a couple of insurance runs on there. That was a big game for you guys. I think that set the tone. Getting the first win in the opening round was critical.
Yeah, heck, if you're going to live up north and go through one of those winners, you better be resilient, and they are. And Coeur d'Alene was fantastic. I really enjoyed their coaching staff and their players, and they gave us everything we could handle. Like I told you, I after playing them, I'm like, shoot, this might be the team that comes back and we face them in the championship game if we make it there. I just loved the way their kids competed, and they did not give in. They did not give up. And, that big sophomore of theirs is going to be a special player. He's 6'10", 280. He's up there just pounding the zone. It was a tight on that day on both sides. And I'm telling you, the kid just made a game out of it. And he willed his team back into it. And we just didn't capitalize on a couple of key plays. But, you got to give their coaches a tremendous amount of credit. Heck, I think they played Lake City 9 out of the last 10 games prior to us. And I think they split it 5-4. You play a team that much, you're going to grow. You're going to get better. You're going to find out exactly who you are, because you're not fooling anyone anymore. And so I think that really helped them build up some of their resiliency.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then the game, the Owyhee Mountain View game, that one shocked me. I just didn't see it happening. But I think, and this is no disrespect to Owyhee, because what if Coach Rasmussen did a phenomenal job stepping in, filling in, and obviously they were the monkey on your guys' back the whole season. You guys, that was it, those guys. But you kind of got a feeling in the pool play when they had to come back and they had to win 3 games in the last day. They had to come back and beat Eagle twice in order to get past it. You kind of felt like maybe something was going to change. Maybe the tide was shifting. And I know you stuck around because you were right below us and you watched a bit of that game. It just didn't feel like they had it. I don't know if it was tired. I couldn't really feel it, but Mountain View was fired up. We always talk about how there's that line, right? You live on this side, you go to Hawaii. You live on this side, you go to Mountain View, and they know each other so well.
Yeah, I mean, Mountain View's lineup is, I think, the toughest out there other than ours. I mean, those kids are young, they're hungry, their coach gets them ready. I mean, they are going to be tough for the next several years. Schneid is a dude at the plate. I mean, he's going to be a perennial power for the next 3 years. I'm really excited to see what that kid can do. I think he's going to will them to a lot of victories, both on and off the field. He's just a tremendous athlete. But yeah, I mean, when you're a 3-time state defending champion, you don't go off into the wind lightly. You fight. I really felt they were there because they're good, but they never quit. They always had a shot because they believed that they were the best team, that they had the best player at every position, that they had the best coaches. They have a certain confidence about them that just says, hey, you have to beat us. And they never feel like they're out of a game. And I think, some of that youth at Mountain View is going to have to learn how to take from teams like Hawaii, just like we've had to, take our lumps over the last couple of years and not quite make it into the state championship, even though I felt like we've had better teams than we did this year. We just couldn't quite get over the hump. And I think sometimes it was me, sometimes it was guys just not recognizing where they were. And then that strong belief that you are the best. And it comes with that quiet confidence. And one of the things that we focused on a lot more this year was being in the moment. And, you hear guys like Tom Brady talking about like laser focus. We talked about narrowing the focus. And how do you do that? Because if you start thinking about winning a state championship when you haven't done it yet, then it's not okay. And a lot of our guys that I've talked to after that fact, we built that message in so hard that the consistent thing I'm hearing from our players is it hasn't sunk in yet, coach. It hasn't sunk in yet. Because we wouldn't allow them to think about winning a state championship. You had to think about the here and the now, the narrow of the focus. And I got so good at it looking myself in the mirror. And to be honest with you, we played Matt Rasmussen's summer team tonight. They're actually playing right now. I came up here for this. And he asked me the same things. It sunk in. I said, man, I can't get it. I feel great. I know we won. We celebrated that night, but it is just not sinking in yet. And I just think we've trained ourselves so well to stay in the moment. Now I got to figure out how to get and look at it from the big picture.
Yeah, it was good. Well, the second round game that you guys went into, throw that back up, can you, Lucas?
Yep. Naomi, just a sec to get there. There we go.
Yeah, so that second round game with Mountain View, you already talked a little bit about it, but the bats went off. Bo Ramsey, probably play of the year. That was that game, right?
Yes.
Yeah, play of the year in the outfield. I mean, hopefully we can kind of dig that up somewhere for some archive, and somebody got a video of that, because I couldn't believe it. I was doing that game and it was just shell shock. But bats went off, pitching was on point, and Mountain View maybe. They'd flex versus Hawaii, but that game you guys were just on. I mean, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that catch first. I'll tell you what, Bo Ramsey didn't start in center field until the near the end of the season. And we saw him run around. He looked like a gosh darn gazelle out there. Like that guy's our center fielder. It just took us 2/3 of the season to figure it out. And so when he was pitching, we had to put him there. He's just a tremendous athlete. He's 6'5", 6'6". He plays volleyball. He can play first. He can play shortstop. He's actually the guy that we can put anywhere on the field to be comfortable. Where we needed him this year was in center. And his beat on that play, about halfway through, I knew he had it. I played center field in high school, and I knew he had it. I didn't know it was going to be a diving catch, but I knew he was going to make that catch. Because there's certain way when you see an athlete like that go after something that it's a done deal. If he didn't run into a wall, he was certainly gonna catch it. And then for him to lay out like that, full extension going away, a la Jim Edmonds type, not necessarily straight away, but was put the nail in the coffin, and it really inspired the rest of his teammates. And you need a player too like that to win a state championship. When you make a play like that, you feel pretty darn good about yourself, and that really inspires the guys around you. And you should have seen the Meduta that happened. The joy for him was through the roof because he's such a great guy and such a great play, and it was such a team moment that it just took us to a whole different level. And we were already swinging the bats really well, but you know what? Like that just adds a little bit more, and a little more confidence never hurt anybody.
Yeah, I was sitting there and I was up in the booth at the Hawks Stadium and I was like, I can't believe what I just saw. That was literally one of the most amazing catches. It doesn't matter who you are at what level. And you could see that too. He is a natural athlete. It was funny because he came up the stairs and he's a lanky kid, right? Like you said, he's a bit of a gazelle. And he had these, of course, this is the trend these days with these kids. They wear these little short shorts, right? Like I would be caught dead in those things, right? But he comes up and he is all like sinew and muscle and like the bleach blonde hair. And I was like, that dude just gets after it, right? And in the regionals, right, versus Ridgeview, dude cranked that home run, right?
Oh,
I mean, he just turned on it.
Yeah, his first ever high school, his only ever high school home run. He puts a 2-run shot over the wall in Middleton, and he's a guy that we didn't play a lot last year. He didn't hit real well, and we just didn't really have kind of a spot for him. And he was just he's always been a great athlete, a great pitcher, but he gained the confidence of a senior this year, and he was a quiet leader, but he was the guy that the other guys sent to me if they had an issue, if they wanted something done. There was a point in the middle of the year where he came to me and said, "Hey, I want this team. I want to switch the rotation, and I want this team." And I'm like, "Boy, that takes something." Now, him and my daughter were born within a few days of each other. I've been close friends with the Ramseys for 18, 20 years now. So I've known Bo since he was in diapers, but we have a very close relationship, and he's always been that kind of kid, but he just took himself to a different level this year. And he started off hitting a little bit slow, but I'm telling you, he just battled and ended up hitting over 300 and became the key center fielder for us, that keystone for us, and then was, the best number 2 pitcher in the state of Idaho, in my opinion.
And did you say he plays volleyball? Did I hear that right?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
He missed the first game of the season out of Hawaii. Him and one of our other players, they were up north, and he's getting a lot of looks for volleyball. It's a club.
Interesting. Okay.
Here, and I mean, he can jump through the roof. He was a good basketball player, but I mean, he brings that right hand hammer down, and I mean, he just demolishes kids. And he's bigger on the volleyball court than he looks on the baseball field. So pretty stud all around athlete.
Yeah, and you can just see it, like I said, sinew and muscle, right? Just really springy. He bats left too. Bats left, throws right. So very capable on the baseball field. What sport are we talking about here?
He's going to Umpqua. He's going to go play over there, baseball over there. He's going to try and hit and pitch over there as well. So he's
cool.
Off and going to play.
Yeah, that was part of that was the next. Well, that's the next phase, but we got to finish going through the tournament. So let's get to the championship game. Okay, Owyhee, Middleton. It's what everybody was hoping for, right? Got down to it. Although, albeit you guys with the undefeated so far, you'd won 2 to get through. Owyhee squeezing by. Look at their scores. They lost 9-1, came back and won the next game, and they won that one 2-1, and then they came back and beat Mountain View 2-1 again, on the back of really good pitching. And then they get in this game, this championship game versus you guys, and you'd lost to them 3 times previously, right? District championship, and then 2 times during the regular season, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Does that sound right?
Yep.
Okay. And then you come in there. What's your mindset? What are you doing with these guys?
We felt we were the best team at the tournament. We felt that we handed them 2 of the 3 games in the season. We felt unbelievably confident. We had a sophomore, Kellen Vieweg, that we knew was an absolute dude, and he was getting better as the season progressed, and they roughed him up a little bit in a game before, but he wasn't the same guy. He grew up. He stayed after a bus ride with me one night, 45 minutes after the game, talking about how he didn't want to look like a freshman anymore. And, he was a sophomore, but he had a freshman look to him. And he grew tremendously. And he's just such a charismatic kid, a high confidence kid, but he just couldn't quite put it all together. So we felt confident going into that game. We felt like the best team. And I don't take anything away from anyone else. But if you don't believe that, if you don't believe you're the best, if you don't, then why are you here? And I really think that Hawaii's spirit and their willingness to fight was going to make it a dogfight. But I felt like we were going to take that first game. In fact, my dad was in Portland, and I texted him. I said, you need to come home. He was up there watching Trey. I said, you need to be here. And so he got up in the morning and got out of bed real early and made it right before state game. And, he walked up and, we had a pretty positive moment. And then the game was on. And with my dad and my brother and my family there supporting it just felt right. It felt like we had a great opportunity to win.
So a couple plays that stood out. How about the bunt? Drew's bunt.
Dude, I got to set it up. I Drew in practice on Monday. He was going against Kellen in a live scrimmage, and he called the squeeze play. He's our 3-hole hitter. He's 4.0 student, tremendous leader, tougher than nails, just the toughest kid you've ever been around. And he calls a squeeze bunt in the scrimmage. I'm like, okay. And he comes over to me and I said, hey, what's that all about? He goes, Coach, if that opportunity comes up, I want to make that happen. I said, okay. The 2 nights before the tournament started, I had a recurring dream that happened about 3 to 6 different times. I woke up all night that Hawaii had beat us on a squeeze because they were squeezing all year long. All year, squeeze. How are we going to defend it? How are we going to do it? And then, I woke up and I just stressed out of my mind. I'm like, screw that. Let's squeeze that. And Drew comes up and he's got the look in his eye. Like, you better call it, Coach, or I'm calling it. I didn't have much of a choice. He just looked at me and he kind of gave me that sign and it was on. And it's not how you draw it up. But when your best players are your hardest workers and they're your most honest kids, there's a little luck involved that just is created by who you are. And you put your kids in the best situation. And Hawaii sent the house. I mean, they sent the house. And it just goes right over the head. And the pitcher's reaction was classic.
He knew it.
It just like, oh. I mean, it just completely deflates them. And, we knew we had a good shot to win it with 1 run, but with 2 runs, we felt like, okay, this is over.
So let's say strike goes by, say for whatever he doesn't do. I mean, Boomer's coming home, right? Like he's basically going to steal home on that play.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, you're squeezing. It's a sellout. I mean, yeah, those guys crash, and even if he gets it down, Boomer's going to be there safe, but it's almost impossible to defend a true squeeze. But Drew had tried a squeeze earlier in that game, or was it the game before? I think it was he tried a squeeze in that game earlier in the game. Either way, like you got a senior at third, one of the fastest kids around. He's an all-conference kid. He's an all-state kid. He was a few votes shy of being the player of the year in our conference. And Drew is just a guy that we believe in that can do anything. That's why he's in our 3-hole. That's why he's catching. That's why he's going to University of Portland on a scholarship to play baseball, because you can trust those guys to get the job done. Now, it isn't always perfect, and it isn't how you always draw it up, and you don't want the bunt to go up. But in this particular case, we were blessed, and it worked out in our benefit. Feel pretty good play too.
It seems to me, in just talking to you, that you have a lot of trust in your players. You name 3 instances here where you essentially trust your players and what they're feeling in the situation. And then you guys go off of that, whether it's calling a squeeze or changing a rotation. Have you ever felt this much trust in any of the teams that you've coached with what you felt this year with your players?
Yeah. So, the group that I had growing up was Robert Orlowski, Trey Swygart, Caden Radcliffe, Mike Mendiola. We just had dude after dude after dude. And I had them from the time they were 10, 11. And so we had built that for 6 or 7 years. And I'll give you a quick instance. Robert won the Gatorade Player of the Year that year. He called a lot of his game on the mound. But more impressively, he stole 45 bags that year. I called one steal for him, and he stole 45 bags. And it was not just impressive just because he's an athlete and we knew he could steal. We trusted him. And when you give players trust that have earned it, it goes back to that team first mentality. And when it's player led, the team first takes care of itself. In fact, I was coaching my younger son's team today, and it was the first time that I've taken over as their head coach. I had a dad helping us out. He did a great job. And I took this group today, and the first thing that I told them in practice today was simple. If you guys start doing things the right way, this will be yours, and you get to make these own decisions, and you get to call the butt coverages, and you get to make the calls. And when that happens, they have to learn the systems on their own to call the systems. And we've had players that can do that. I mean, my older son, has been around the game forever. He could coach a high school baseball team right now. He honestly could. And he goes to Portland, and they're just giving him so much credit because he knows the game. Boomer, Cam Lenius is a sophomore on our team. He called more defensive plays and led our team as much as anyone out there. And the IQ of a player when you turn the game over to them automatically goes up. And the baseball IQ isn't always great early on, and you look pretty dumb early on, allowing them to make these mistakes. But when you go through that at a young age, by the time they're juniors, seniors, and they're playing varsity baseball, they've worked out a lot of that on their own.
Yeah. I mean, you hear of it sometimes in the pros in college and things like that, but it makes sense when you talk about the development and you've had them for a few years, but what a better way to teach a kid a game than to let them call the game, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I love that. I don't want to conclude our talk on the bracket here without talking to you about the new format, because that was the big buzz around the state this year. I personally like it. I thought the double elimination format was something that was missing. It didn't really come into play necessarily with you guys this year, but first of all, thoughts on the new format, and then did it change anything from you guys heading into this year's tournament when you're thinking about how you're going to play the chess match with pitchers and rotation and stuff like that? Did it change anything knowing that it was a double elimination for you?
A little bit, not much. I thought if we had this format, we win a couple more state championships. We feel like we've had the deepest pitching. I felt like this year we had a three-headed monster that could win any 3 games, and we could figure out the rest as we go. I felt we had 6 pitchers that could win a game. We had a kid injured the entire year, and he came back in the state. He didn't pitch at all, but in practice, he was lighting our guys up left and right. So that would have added a 7th. I felt unbelievably confident that our pitching staff could take care of it. And the funny question I got by several people after the state championship, who is your next pitcher? Well, it could have been any number of guys. Heck, you could have gone back to Kellen Vieweg and that state championship game if he was. But I just didn't feel like we were on a losing path, and we were just going for broke. And we had pitchers. We had a stable of pitchers, and we just didn't have to use them. But they were ready. They were absolutely ready. And heck, I mean, I think we saw Hawaii's number 1. I think we might have saw Mountain View's number 1. And I don't know who Coeur d'Alene's number 1 is, but 6'10", 280 sounds like a number 1 to me.
I think you saw him. Yeah.
It just hit the heck out of everyone. So I felt our 3 pitchers were as good as anyone. I think like Ian Lenius is the best pitcher in the state. He could win any game that you put him out there. But I felt the confidence of Bo Ramsey and then the stud performance of Kellen Vieweg. I mean, shoot, I think he was 30 pitches through 5 innings, something like that. Jeez.
He ended with what, 65 pitches?
It was 61, I think. But yeah, it went through 6 innings. And, had we not had Boomer just salivating over at shortstop to close out, the game, we'd probably just stick with him. And he
That's a good call. I mean, it's a good call, right? Like, you don't want to mess around in that situation. And so, and on top of that, how many times through have they come through the lineup? And exponentially, when they keep going through the lineup, the batting average gets better and better, and they've seen the pitcher. But I mean, that's the other thing too. Well, first of all, the balls were getting wet and heavy. I mean, there were a couple times that I think Aldrich had one where he pulls it, or maybe it was Boomer too. Both of them actually go to pull the glove out. The ball of the glove, and it's just slick, and it's tough conditions, very tough conditions. And so for Kellen, for Viewig to do what he did with the ball, I mean, there were a couple times you could see he would try to throw the curve or something, and he couldn't get the grip right. It was too slick, so he just went back, fastball, changeup, fastball, changeup, fastball, changeup. He threw a little bit of a splitter in there. He got some movement on it, but I mean, how he did it, painted corners, he did a phenomenal job in that championship game.
Yeah, he didn't look like a freshman, did he?
No freshman.
I can't say enough about who that kid is. He had pretty good forearm tightness before that game, but he wasn't going to let that bother him. He had his electronics on it. He was rubbing it out. But I'm telling you, he is just an absolute character and a guy that you want to take that next stand. We've had D1 pitchers each of the last 3 years, and he'll be the next one, in my opinion, because he just is relentless with his workouts. His attitude's the best. We keep talking about these kids, but I'm not kidding you. Our best players have been our best people, and it just carries the rest of the team. They just won't allow anyone else to take that off. And Kellen was around last year, and he was around the big studs that we've had over the last several years. He's always been hanging out. I got 6th, 7th, and 8th graders hanging out in my dugout all the time. I don't even know who some of them are. And they just hang out in the dugout, and they get to be with Kellen Viewig and Drew Holman and Boomer Collins and Cam Lynn. It's like, are you kidding me? That's some of the culture thing that we try to create. I mean, Jeremiah Keithley doesn't say a word, but his presence is massive, and kids just love it. It's fun.
That's how you build a legacy, right? That's how a team builds a dynasty. But how have you seen it seems to me that baseball in Idaho, and part of it's the growth. Part of it's, the California influx coming into the state. But it seems to me that baseball is, especially on the youth travel ball side, is getting better and better each year. How have you seen it evolve in your time here in Idaho?
Yeah, I think COVID, shuts down all the leagues. You shut down your Legion and your Cal Ripken and your Babe Ruth, and the travel teams come in and they pick up that slack, and they take off here in Idaho. We see a lot of kids doing that, and it's a really good format for kids that are just at the top of the heap. I'm still big in that your players should be playing for you unless they have a showcase, unless they have an opportunity to go do something great. And so I have kind of a mixed feeling on it. I know it's not necessarily the direction you were heading, but I think those club teams for the elite kids can really, really help them. Unfortunately, not everyone's elite. And so I think you need to build that camaraderie with your kids in the summer. And I think that's what Legion Ball used to do. And I think that's what we used to have in our area. But, my son went through it, and the club team did amazing. The travel team did amazing stuff for him. So I see both sides of it as a head coach and what it did for my kid. And if you do things right, you can evaluate your kid honestly and fairly, which is really hard to do. It is really hard for a parent to evaluate their kid. Then you can make the most out of your high school career, and then also your travel ball stuff as well.
Well, let's talk a little bit about development. I just want to talk. You mentioned, pitchers coming through being D1 pitchers. This one being Ian going to University of Utah, right? And then Orlowski, UT San Antonio. Talk about some of these kids on your team, where they're going. I didn't know Drew's going to Portland. I didn't know that. But talk about some of these kids and where they're going and your thoughts on that. And then when you're done, how about what you think it takes to develop to get there, and how you've been able to help them get there?
Our first, I've talked to a lot of people in Middleton, and there hasn't been a D1 baseball player out of Middleton. Robert Orlowski was the first. Trey Swygart was the second. What we saw out of them was weight room, strength and conditioning, off the field. They already had the it factor. And one of the things that they didn't do is they were the best kids in town, but they were not satisfied. They had goals that were bigger than that. And we didn't know how good they were until the end, until you start getting these offers for D1 schools like Utah and Portland and UTSA. And UTSA was not the only, it was Oregon State, Oregon. It was big time Power 5, legitimate full ride offers for the Orlowski kid. And I think he just set the program ahead that, our kids can not only play well at Idaho, you can go and get drafted. You can go and play in Texas. You can go play in the Northwest. You can go down to Utah. And you can make a name for yourself as long as you are committed to yourself, to the weight room, and you build like an aura around you. Like you just have the it factor that you're going to succeed, and you won't allow yourself not to. And I think that's what's really pushed our kids, is a mindset that was created with our first couple of groups that allowed them to go through a lot of adversity while still believing in themselves, because baseball just kicks you, right in the middle, and it beats you down. And I know my son went through that last year, and, Ian's going to have to go through it. Robert Orlowski had a solid freshman career, but I just saw a quote yesterday that his college coach said, "We are giving Robert the ball anytime we have a chance to win." His whole team is centered around what he's doing. And I'll tell you what, it's the belief that these kids have in themselves and the support that they have around them to push through really hard times.
Yeah. So who's going where?
So who's going where right now? So you have Drew Holman was offered a football scholarship at University of Idaho, and he was also offered a scholarship at University of Portland to play baseball. He decided that's where he wanted to go. He's pretty tight with Trey, and it's an unbelievable school. Boomer Collins is going to San Diego Mesa. I had connected with the guy up north, actually out of Coeur d'Alene. Pat Capone. They own that restaurant Capone's up there in Coeur d'Alene. He's down there in San Diego Mesa. I connected with him a couple of years ago. So he got a hold of Boomer, and that's where he's going to go. Jeremiah Keithley is going to go down there to San Diego Mesa as well. Bo Ramsey is going to go off to Umpqua Community College. He had looks from just about everyone, in the NAIA. There were some Division II looks. A lot of the Idaho schools really liked him, but he just really felt comfortable going down to that school. He really felt a connection with the coaches and has built something there.
Would he flip to volleyball if the scholarship became available?
Yeah, he could do whatever he wants.
Yeah, sure.
He's that good. I think this year he wasn't sure, because last year he didn't have a great year at the plate, and then this year he turned it around and he did. And sometimes success is fun, and when you're failing at one part of the game that you've always been really good at. I think he was considering not playing baseball. I think he mentioned it to me at one point, but the fact that he did and then stuck it out tells me he's probably going to be a baseball player. But if it doesn't work out, yeah, you're going to see a really dang good volleyball player somewhere. I don't even know where they play volleyball or what colleges do. But
well, it's this square court, and there's a net that sits in the middle, and it's a white ball that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, what universities play men's volleyball?
California. That's about it. Schools in California.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
He can play anywhere. And then we had a couple of kids that came on late that are getting some looks. There's no offers yet, but the Chase Anderson kid didn't play a lick of varsity baseball for his entire career. In fact, he was a kid we cut last year. He came back this year and just put it all together, both on and off the field, became a great character kid, had the most love for his teammates I've ever seen from someone that never played a varsity inning, and was absolutely toasting our guys in practice the last week or two of school. The Gavin Ament kid who moved up from California, he's getting some mild consideration. And then Christian Aragon, who ended up first team all conference SIC, is trying to get on with somebody as well, maybe a TC or something like that. So am I missing anyone?
Well, you have some youth, right? Like, I mean, Aldrich, V-Wig, those are both sophomores. Ian Lenius, sophomore.
Cam Lenius.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Cam Lenius, sophomore. I'm just trying to think your underclassmen that probably haven't. I mean, as a sophomore, it's tough. You can't get an offer, right? The coaches technically can't communicate with you. It has to be a junior. So I wouldn't doubt those kids are going to start getting looks as well.
Yeah, University of Portland has actually inquired about both V-Wig and Cam. They can't. The coach told me, "Hey, August 1, those will be some of our first calls that we make." We got a new kid out of Eastern Idaho that didn't play for us this year because he deserved to be in our lineup. We had 10 kids that need to be in our lineup. His name's DJ Brokai. He came over from Thunder Ridge. He played tonight, and I am really excited about this kid. He made a catch out in the outfield today and tried to plant. He fell down. He flipped it to his, the right fielder. Right fielder throws it in. This kid's he looks the part. He acts the part. He's going to be a big time player. He's going to be a senior next year for us.
Does he play football as well?
Yeah, he does. He's a defensive end. I think he has 6.5 sacks.
Yep.
The football team's really high on him. He's a great kid.
He was your pinch runner.
Yeah.
You sent him and he got tagged out at the plate. It was a close one.
Why are you bringing that stuff up?
I was just, with the good comes the bad, man.
Honestly,
it was the right.
Himself. You never know.
No, it was the right call. I would have sent him too. As he was coming around, I'm like, gotta send him. It's a shot. You gotta take your shot. And it was a close bang play. He made the right slide too. I don't know if you saw the video yet, but he made the right slide. Right hand to the side, trying to get out as far as he could. But they just made a great play at the plate. So yeah, he's a good kid.
They got Churchfield out in the outfield as well. A couple of young pitchers coming up, so I feel like we've got a good shot to rebuild and contend again. I mean, it's never especially as easy as Hawaii made it look for 3 straight years. But
well, yeah. Gage Haas is graduating, so there's that, right? Like you could.
He'll be on. He's a dude. There's a reason University of Washington signed him. That kid can absolutely swing it.
He mashes. Yeah.
So at what point do you guys decide, or have you already decided, 6A versus 5A for next year?
Oh, yeah, we're in. We're 6 all the way. I agree. Don't get me wrong. I love 5A, and which we used to be the old 4A. That's the BKs, the Skyviews. Your Twin Falls, who we got to play earlier in this year. Those are just dogs. I mean, they just Pocatello's always putting out great teams.
Valley View showed up this year.
Valley View, that's my old alma mater. I gotta love that. There's some kids over there. This gigantic kid that's a legit catcher. Their coach is doing a nice job. I just love to see Valley View back in the fold, especially playing there and graduating from there. Always big proponents of Valley View baseball. So I just want that competitive edge every single night. We beat Bora 1-0, and I think they finished bottom 3rd. But you better play well every night. And we were 11-1 in conference, and you can't take a night off. And that to me is baseball. I think our kids deserve it. I think that they want it. They don't want to go down. And nothing to say anyone negative about anyone in the 5A. I just think you're seeing better baseball in the 6A from top to bottom.
Top to bottom, sure. I would say argue your top end 5A is just right there as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're fine. So, yeah.
How does that process work? I mean, obviously there's an appeal process, but are you approaching Andy and saying, "Hey, I think we can play up," even though or what does that process look like? How does that come about?
Yeah, well, we've built some credibility with our administration, the way we run our field, the effort we put into just just our facilities alone, to the fundraising. We're one of the top fundraising groups in the high school. We bring in a lot of money. We do a lot of different things. We've created an excellent culture. We have been competitive everywhere we've been. We've won over 20 games each of the last 4 years. We've won state titles in 2016, 2018. We're in the mix over the last 5 years. And we had established coaching, and I think that's one of the differences you see with our girls basketball. They just didn't have the coach at the time where they were transitioning from coach to coach. Otherwise I think our girls basketball would have stayed up. But, I went to Andy, and Bill Brock went to Andy, and we just said, hey, we don't want to go down. We want to stay up. And Andy trusted us. And I think, his trust in us we're reaping some of those benefits now. And then he's like, okay, done deal. Where some of the other sports, I think they were questioning and talking about it. They just didn't have that established track record at Middleton to play up. And they wanted that ability to compete at, the 5A level and have more of a competitive balance. But we didn't want that. We wanted the best. And I feel like this is the perfect spot for us. And I think in a year and a half, Middleton's numbers are going to be so high that it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I go down to go back up after a 2-year cycle anyway. So the appeals process was pretty simple. Andy handled all the paperwork. We said go. And then it's, you ride that 2-year cycle, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And then, after that, we can petition down or whatever. But I mean, we're not going to, but some of us might have to, but not us.
Well, I think the enrollment's 13, almost 1,400, and the cutoff's 1,500. Something like that to get into it. So you're right there in terms of numbers for 6A anyway.
Yeah, we'll be at the bottom of the 6A, but I think we've built enough of a community of baseball that we'll be able to find enough players to compete. I don't know if we'll win the state championships every year. The Mountain Views, the Rockies, the Waihees, the Eagles, they're loaded every single year with just absolute talent.
Do you know the largest school in the state of Idaho? Mountain View, 2,400. You know the second largest?
Rocky.
Boise.
We got to get it together over there a little bit then.
What's that?
You got to get it together over there.
A little bit. You think a lot bit, man. Well, they're looking for a new coach right now, so just depending directionally, they have a couple options. So if you know anybody good, let me know, and I'll pass them along. So
right there, I'm looking at one. You're up for it.
There you go.
I have a day job.
You did a great job. You handled yourself well, and I think you put your kids in the right position at the right time, and you don't put too much pressure on them. So I really enjoyed coaching against you.
Good.
Well, Bryan, any fun plans for the summer?
Boy, I'll tell you what. We won a state championship. Since then, I've attended a funeral, drove down to Vegas to watch Trey play. My daughter graduated as valedictorian. Academic speech at the graduation and prior to the graduation. Did 1 day of camping, turned around, coached 4 games the last 2 days. I see about 10 more baseball games in the next 6 days. Got another funeral on Friday. And then I don't know what happens after that, but it should be a lot of baseball in there.
Yeah.
Trey playing with the top guys. We'll be at a baseball field near you.
Yeah. I'm sure we all will. Yeah. Well, hey, we've taken up some of your time here tonight, and appreciate you joining us here tonight and taking the time to chat with us here today. Congrats again on your state championship, and have a good summer and good luck going into next year, and love to see you guys keep competing at 6A. I think that's awesome.
Awesome. I appreciate that, guys. I'm gonna send Ryan a couple of names over at Homedale right after I get off the phone here, so you guys
perfect.
Yes, go.
Love it. No, a great opportunity for you guys as well. We tried to get Mary Ann Blackwell on here, but our schedules didn't line up. So we love Middleton coaches. You guys are great. So thank you.
We'll do Bill later this summer too.
Oh yeah,
going into football season.
Yeah,
I'd love to get him too.
He's a Hall of Fame person, and he's a Hall of Fame coach. And I coached for him for about 10 years, and I got a lot of stuff from him. He's one of the best I've ever been around. Bill Brock is a man's man. He cares about kids more than anyone I've ever been around. And it's as genuine as you could. You'll see it the moment you talk to him. That guy is unbelievable.
Love it. Yeah, we'll pencil him in for this summer for sure. So thanks again for joining us. It's Bryan Swygart, head baseball coach at Middleton High School. 6A state champions are the Middleton Vikings with 5A enrollment numbers. So thanks for joining us, Bryan. Thanks again.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Come on.
Well, that was fun. What do you think?
Did you stop the recording?
No, we're still going.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
It was awesome, man. I couldn't ask for anything more. I was just sitting there trying to soak it all up. I mean,
yeah.
He was just talking about it. And you know what I think one of my biggest takeaways is just how much he puts back on the kids and lets them develop, right? And in order to do that, you have to have a cohesiveness. There has to be a bond on the team, which means you have to have a good culture. So, I mean, it really starts with that culture, and winning helps. People tend to be a little happier when you're winning, right? But I tell you, the culture is great. And we didn't mention this, but the facilities, he mentioned a little bit, but the Middleton facilities are top notch. Their football field. Do you remember, was it you that we did it? But it was Skyline High School from Utah played Post Falls. And they said, hey, we need a place to play in the middle because that drive was just ridiculous. And Andy was like, come play Middleton. We got you. So they met literally right in the middle. It was like 50-50, and they met and they played them at the beginning of the year. But just a phenomenal field. And they're putting in some more soccer fields. They want to be turf soccer fields. They want it to be this kind of mecca to where they can host tournaments and do all kinds of stuff. And just a great facility. And Middleton just shows up every single time. They just do a great job.
Yeah, Middleton's one of the great sports towns in Idaho for sure. So, all right, well, that's going to about do it for us here today. It's the Fighting Tater Show here on IdahoSports.com. He's Ryan Luke. My name is Lucas Gebhardt, and we're going to hopefully do more of these this summer once we start getting into the summer a little bit, and then we start thinking about football season. We'll start bringing some more football coaches on. What do you think?
Love it. Sounds good.
So he's Ryan Luke. I'm Lucas Gebhardt. We'll see you next time. Fighting Tater Show.